Hello everyone, thank you for coming today. My name is Daniel Holliday and this is my persuasive speech for fundamentals of public speaking. Bam! You hear a loud bang coming from the other room and you go rushing in to find that your 3-year-old has just broken your favorite lamp while playing with his ball after you told him countless times not to be playing with it in the house. So what do you do now? You put him in timeout before, you've taken away his toys, but yet he still doesn't seem to listen. This is when most parents will turn to spanking to try and correct their children's behavior. I believe that every parent faces the decision to spank their child at some point in their lives. When trying to teach them right from wrong and shape them into the people that we want them to be, it can sometimes seem like the best way to get your point across to them because children do respond to it. As a parent myself, though, I know the bad feeling I get when I see my daughter cry and would hate to think that I would ever be the one to cause her to tear up. I've done a lot of research on the effects that spanking children can have on who they become later in life. And it is my firm belief that parents should never hit their children when it comes to discipline, and I hope that after hearing what I have to say that you will never spank your children again. Although spanking a child can provide a quick solution to a temporary problem, I believe that it has the potential to cause more problems in their behavior as they get older. Today I'm going to talk to you about why parents decide to use corporal punishment when it comes to disciplining their children and the effects that spanking children can cause in their behavior. I'm also going to evaluate some of the studies that have been done on corporal punishment and give people a few alternatives to spanking their children. So why do parents spank their kids? The Bible says those who spare the rod hate their children. Those who love them are diligent to discipline them. I believe that the main reason parents spank their children is to get their attention and scare them into not doing whatever they did wrong in the first place. Sometimes sitting your child down and trying to talk to them about what they did wrong and explain to them why it was wrong can be too time consuming, and smacking them on the butt can seem like an easy way to get the same message across. I've seen many parents try to discipline their children without smacking them, and it's only when the child continues to do whatever they are doing wrong that the parent starts to get frustrated and then they decide to spank them. What kind of message does this send to our kids? Dr. Megan Clark says that when we discipline our children with violence, we are really releasing our own frustration and anger. She also says that the lesson that children learn is not, I should not continue in this behavior or I will suffer from physical pain, but rather when I'm angry it's acceptable to soothe myself by striking at the cause of my frustration. In an article titled "Spanking Should Not Be Lawful," Dr. Carol Jenny says that the message we teach our children when we spank them is, I'm bigger and stronger than you and therefore I can make you do whatever I want by inflicting pain on you. She goes on to say that spanking teaches a child that hurting others is a way to change their behavior, and that when we hit our children, we do so knowing that we ourselves are not in danger because of our size and strength, and that we would probably not hit our children if we knew that there was a chance that they could return the blows and hurt us back. So most of the time when parents discipline their children by spanking, they do so to stifle their own anger and frustration. If the parent doesn't explain to the child why they were being spanked, then the message they were trying to teach doesn't sink in, and the child will undoubtedly repeat the same wrong act. So why shouldn't you spank your kids? Spanking has been associated with decreased internalization of morals, diminished quality of parent-child relations, poor child and adult mental health, increased delinquency and antisocial behavior for children, and increased criminal and antisocial behavior for adults. Spanking also was associated with an increased risk of being a victim of abuse or of abusing one's own child or spouse. Personally, I think when it comes to behavioral changes, it depends on when the child first started receiving the spankings. For example, Eric Slade says children under the age of 2 have limited capacity to understand the intent of and rationale for punishment. When they have limited capacity for verbal communication, and they have limited capacity to plan behaviors that comply with parents' verbal directives. Spanking a child under the age of 2 can be riskier than at older ages because children that young undergo several fundamental transitions in emotional and cognitive development. In children ages 2 to 6, the evidence suggests that non-abusive and customary use of spanking has neutral effects on child emotional well-being and may have beneficial effects of child behavior, because it may increase child compliance and reduce the need for future punishment by deterring the child's misbehavior. According to Dr. Murray Strauss, when it comes to children that were victims of corporal punishment in their early teenage years, they were found to have an increasingly higher chance of being abusive towards their mates and their own children. According to the studies that I've researched, it appears that spanking is most effective between the ages of 2 and 6. These are the years when children seem to have the fewest negative repercussions, but even after reading these findings myself, I still think that spanking should never be used. I think that it's using something negative to achieve something positive and trying to control children's behavior. I was spanked myself when I was a child, and it was between the ages of 2 and 6. My father put the fear in me, and although all through my adolescent years I stayed out of trouble for the most part, but to this day my relationship with my father isn't as good as it should be. Personally, I think that even though he didn't go overboard on spanking, that it did affect the poor relationship we still have today. This is why I will never hit my own child. Even though my daughter has done a few things that have put the thought into my head, I don't want me and her to have the same gap in our relationship that my father and I have. I also believe that it is illegal to strike if it's illegal to strike an adult, that it should be illegal to strike a kid. Just because I think that we should not spank our children, it doesn't mean that I don't think children need to not be disciplined. All children need to be disciplined. I just think that spanking them is not an option that any parent should consider. When I've talked to parents about spanking their children, they usually tell me that they do so as a last resort, when nothing else seems to work. But personally, I think there is always another option. I think the most important thing you can do when it comes to children is communicate. Make sure they know right from wrong and explain to them why certain things are wrong. If they don't know what they're doing is wrong, then how can you possibly punish them for doing it? I'm also a big fan of putting children in timeouts, especially when they're getting angry or frustrated. My own experience with kids, it seems to calm them down, and then you can talk to them easier and ask them why they got so upset in the first place, and give them advice on how to prevent it in the future. When it comes to disciplining my own daughter, I've tried a number of different things other than spanking, withholding things from her. Withholding things from her doesn't seem to work. Like taking away toys or television or, treats, just doesn't seem to work with her. When she is mean or acting selfish towards other children, I try to set her down and try to communicate to her how the other child is feeling, and for the most part she starts to understand why her behavior was making them upset, and will eventually end up apologizing on her own without me having to tell her to do so. Other than timeouts and withholding things, you can also try distracting them with something else. My sister has children. When her kids start to fight over toys, she will try to find another toy for the sobbing kid, or have them help her do something around the house, and this seems to work well with younger children. One of the main things you want to do is just be creative in trying to get their attention and teaching them how you want them to act. You want to be the most important influence in their lives and be a positive role model. After hearing what I've had to say today, I hope that you won't even consider spanking your kids. Spanking children can provide a quick solution to a temporary problem, but it's almost always more harmful than good. It can cause behavioral problems and teach children the wrong message. Before I started researching this speech, I used to believe that some kids just needed a good spanking. But after reading all the studies that I did, I realized that no kid deserves to be spanked. They're just kids. And if there's a way to teach them right from wrong without hitting them, then we as parents have the responsibility to exercise those options. We all want what is best for our children, and I don't see how we can achieve that by ever causing them physical pain. Thank you all for coming today.